Oh. Hello, everybody. I'm playing some music in the background, and it was playing a commercial, so I was like, oh no. Hello, everybody, and welcome. So I just did the Pisces reading. You can check that out. I did all the signs for April. We're going to be moving into May, so I'm going to be starting May readings. And those of you who didn't get their thoughts exposed, I'm going to be doing that next. And then who knows what type of reading I'll do for the sign reads. So today I wanted to talk about, so this is very similar to the reading that I did on why they live in your head rent-free. And it is a very similar topic. It's basically the same information, a similar information. Why can't you stop thinking of someone? Why do you still yearn for them? Why do you still make space for them? Why do you wait for them even when you know you shouldn't? Even when it hurts? Even when it's been years and years and you haven't heard from them, or they haven't changed, or they've been bad to you? So I wanted to break it down. I want to throw out a few points, a few rationalizations, and then we'll pull some cards on it. Okay, so first and foremost is, and I was watching a video on Buddhism today, a video on this subject, but of the Buddhist interpretation of it, because one of the interpretations was the same as that video. As if you like this video, go check out the Why Do They Live in My Head Rent-Free video that I did, the live that I did, where we talk about Carl Jung, and where it has nothing to do with the person themselves, and it has all to do about you, because what happens is you're projecting onto this person your own insecurities, and 100%. A lot of the times we have a dark side of ourselves that person triggers within us, number one. Number two, they have something we wish we had. Number three, like confidence or sexiness, or they don't give a F and I wish I had that. Or they're more desirable than me and I wish I could just meet people that, whatever it is that is triggered within you, that this person triggers within you, it has nothing to do with them. It's all about you. So you can go watch that video. But the first thing I want to talk about on here, other than the, Carl Jung's theory, is attachment. And I want to ask you this because a lot of the times we think that we are loving this person, and that is why we can't stop thinking about them. We love them so much. That's why we can't let go. We love them so much. That's why. Okay. We love them so much. That's why we can't stop thinking about them. But in actuality, sometimes it's actually that we were just very attached to them. We were attached to the way that they make us feel because, number one, when somebody gives you attention, especially if they breadcrumb you, you get a dopamine high from this person. We were attached to the dopamine high that we got from this connection, or we have a codependent type attachment to them that's based in trauma. We haven't processed the hurt. We haven't, or maybe we hurt them and we haven't processed that, and that's why we can't move on from it. That's why we can't stop thinking about it. We're attached to the way it made us feel, where we haven't processed the pain. So these are two different things, and the way that you can tell if you simply are not over them or still thinking about them because you are attached to them, you simply just have an attachment disorder or just attached to them for the wrong reasons, is you strip away, was I getting joy, validation from their attention? Did I ascribe my happiness to this person, having this person in my life. And if you are saying, no, it doesn't matter, I don't need them in my life to be happy, that is one way that you can separate whether or not it's pure love and or attachment or processing of trauma or processing of hurt or processing of what transpired between the two of you. Because I know for a fact that I have had those moments where I couldn't stop thinking about a relationship, not because I was still in love with that person, but because of how terribly how the relationship was and how much I'm still processing what happened. So that is an attachment and or a coping mechanism to processing what transpired between the two of you. So it's important to understand the difference. Sometimes 100%, we have our lives are great, our lives are fabulous. We simply just miss that person. Okay, so it's good to separate the different reasons why. And as I was saying before, sometimes the people that we can't stop thinking about or that we can't move on from have something that we wish we had. That can be money, it can be status, it can be confidence, something like that. And it can absolutely be that we, that you are experiencing codependency and don't know how to not be in a relationship. So there's a lot of different reasons why. Let's pull some cards on it now. Yeah. Jason Bender, I don't really know what to say about your comment, but it's kind of a random thing. Wisconsin is this the spinoff of Highway to Heaven with Michael? Are you just being a jerk? That's funny though. That's a good question. Emerald said, do you think there's any correlation between horoscope signs and those personality tests people take? So I would definitely, I've never taken like the EMFJ test, but I think what you're asking is, is there a relationship between zodiac signs and personality types? I think so. I think that if you were to look up the different zodiac signs and see what their characteristics are, they probably would fall into certain personalities, INFJ or whatever. I don't know what they are. I don't know what those personality types are, so I can't talk about it. But yeah, I'm sure there is. Because the thing about astrology that nobody talks about, there's a lot of psychology and personality traits that are linked to psychology in astrology. Okay, so we're gonna pull some cards and see what the tarot has to say about why haven't we moved on? Why can't we move on? Other than what I just mentioned. Let's see. We're gonna use the cards as talking points. Okay, so this is basically the first topic that I was mentioning is that we were attached to them. Now, it wasn't necessarily pure love. It was just a type of attachment. But that attachment that you have could be based in abandonment. Of course, some of you guys are avoidant attachment. Some of you guys are anxious attachments. And some people out there have abandonment wounds. And those abandonment wounds are triggered when we get rejected or when our relationship doesn't work out. So that's pretty simple. Some people have a harder time processing breakups because they have abandonment wounds. And I feel like it's either that there are abandonment wounds that need to be processed. Hi, Thunder God. Hello. Or there is a feeling of lack that you're, let's just say that you don't have abandonment wounds or attachment issues, but you could have been in a place in your life where that things weren't going so well for you already, and then the relationship didn't work out. So you already are, or you walk around kind of being in lack, like thinking that you need things, thinking that you don't have things. So if you're the type of person to wake up and say and get disappointed because you don't have something, that in and of itself, you having that type of mentality is going to make it more difficult for you to process a breakup or an ending. We're talking about why it's hard to move on, as even when you know it's not good for you. Now, in that type of situation, I'm going to throw it out there. Sometimes we're addicted to the pain and the toxicity. So if there is a relationship that you just can't get out of, you can't move on from, you can't stop thinking about it, at that point in time, you have to ask yourself, am I infatuated and or addicted to that person? And that kind of goes back to that dopamine hit. It's just like, I'm addicted to this. I'm getting a dopamine fix from this. I'm addicted to the highs and lows. So that can be one reason. Now, some of you guys who are saying, no, I loved that person and I didn't attach all my happiness to that person. It wasn't just an attachment. It was real love. This is a heartbreaking one. Some of you guys pictured a life with this person. Some relationships, we build a person up in our head and we think that they're our dream person. With the star here, I wished for this person for a long time. I thought that they were my dream person for a long period of time. I thought that they were my one true love, and turns out they didn't feel the same way. So yes, whenever we meet people who we feel like are super special, it can be even more difficult to move on because you think you're never going to find it again. You think that this is a diamond in the rough. Hi, Danny the Alchemist. And I want to tell you right now that there are other people. There's billions of people in the world. I have a video, a live that I did about how I don't believe in the one. I don't think that there is a one. I think that we choose who we want to make the one, because love is a choice. So there isn't just only one true love. We have a lot of loves and they're all important. So to kind of take the person off the pedestal, remind yourself that, you could be dealing with processing trauma from the relationship. You could be dealing with attachment issues, and or you put a lot into this one relationship. So now you have to kind of remind yourself, change the way that you think about it, and you're going to be fine. There's more people out there. And even if there aren't, there's other things that are fulfilling in my life. And if not, you have to go out and find other dreams. Especially if this person was your whole world, because that can borderline on codependency. You have to go out there and find new things. You have to go out there and find new things in your life that are joyous and that you feel you're destined to do. Because we put too much effort on relationships sometimes, and we say that, oh, I was destined for this, and I was, and now it's gone, and now I have nothing. But that's not true. And it's a little delusional and a little melodramatic to think that way, because there's other things in life that you can put your energy in that will make you feel happy and joyous. But yes, anyways, I don't want to be rude, but so sometimes we put people on a pedestal and we put a lot of love into them, and it can be heartbreaking when that person doesn't see the same way. I was saying this before. If you were in a relationship that was very tumultuous, 5 of Wands, sometimes it takes a really long time to process what happened. In those situations, it's rarely that you still are in love with that person. It's possible, but more than likely what's happening is that if it was an abusive relationship, if you argued a lot, if there was a lot of internal conflict, when you're separated from that person, you're finally able to process everything that went on. And so sometimes you still have to face that trauma and process it. So that can be sometimes why it's not so easy to move on, because you have to process what happened and deal with the trauma. And also, it triggers a lot of internal conflict within you, some of your internal conflict. So processing it, dealing with the internal conflict, healing from the trauma. What else? What else? I would love to hear you guys' unique perspective as to why you believe it's hard to move on. 8 of Cups. Sometimes you had to move on unexpectedly. 8 of Cups and the Tower. So if somebody broke up with you and you didn't see it coming and it was out of nowhere, unexpectedly, it's like we were together for 3 years and then all of a sudden the next day they're gone. That type of energy is similar to this person was my one and only. They were my whole life. This was everything. It can make you you have to kind of like reevaluate your identity in a sense. If it was a long-term relationship, or if you were with them for a while, if it happened unexpectedly, because your brain is going to want to process what happened. You're going to replay everything. You're going to be like, what did I do wrong? What did they do wrong? Because you didn't see it coming, that can be so much harder for you guys to process. Bold Rick. Carl Jung was a psychotherapist, and I think he used tarot. He has a tarot deck out, and he believed in using tarot to do self-development. And you can look it up. He has his own tarot deck out. So that is why. Because he used tarot, because he believed in using tarot for self-development and for getting in touch with your dark night of the soul. And it's actually really great for that. That's one of the best ways to use tarot. Self-development. And I would love to get Carl Jung's tarot deck. Oh. 4 of Cups. Sometimes it's hard to move on because, and I was saying this before, if you are already in a place of lack, like let's say you're the type of person who is unfulfilled in your life and this relationship brought you so much joy, then you're going to be having nothing. So that, once again, is bordering on codependency. As I was saying before, that's an attachment style. You were attached to this person and almost like you needed them for happiness. If you attached your happiness, all of your happiness, on having this person in your life, and now they're gone, so that can be another reason why it's really hard for you to move on, because now you're like, I'm unfulfilled again. That was really all I had. Yeah. Carl Jung believed in tarot for self-development. It's pretty cool. All right. So if you were unhappy before you met this person, chances are you're going to have a hard time processing the ending. Chances are you're going to be happy, even more unhappy when they leave, because you've kind of developed, as I said before, you've developed the attachment, you've developed the addiction to the dopamine, to the attention that they gave you. So you could be even in like a deficit now. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your life is fulfilling without a relationship. Even if I didn't have this person, my life is still good. And this way we would, if the relationship ends, you're still good. Who lives in a pineapple? That's funny. Okay. 9 of Swords, anxiety. As I was saying before, sometimes anxiety. We have anxiety. We have a lot of anxiety that this ending has brought up. And there can be more than one reason why you have anxiety. It's going to probably go back to the attachment style. But yes, so if you're the type to have a lot of anxiety, you could actually, if this was a relationship, let's say, for example, you were in a relationship with someone for a few years and they just ended it out of nowhere and you weren't expecting it, you didn't see any problems. If you were the type of person to have anxiety before, maybe now you're even in more anxiety because you think you're not going to meet anyone like that, it can put you in that state of anxiety, to think that this was the one, this was the only one, never going to meet anyone else like that. There must be something wrong with me. Everything was going fine. What did I do wrong? So that's like, those are the thoughts that won't stop, and thinking that there is a bigger problem than there really is. That is what anxiety is. I don't know if you guys know. If you look up what anxiety is, it's like a fear of things happening that haven't happened. So it could put you in a place of anxiety. Breakups can put a lot of people in a place of anxiety. Page of coins. I kind of don't really know. Page of coins as a reason why I haven't moved on yet. Because the Page of Pentacles, finances. If you were in a serious relationship with someone and you were living with them and your finances were all combined, you don't make that much money. Now you're left to fend for yourself. That can make it really hard to move on from someone because you have to put your life back together. You have to be financially stable again. And that can put you in a place of anxiety too. I have to find a new place to live. I can't afford it. I have to get a new job. I'm going to have, like, all these thoughts. And that's a stressful time for someone. That's a very stressful time. And it probably will it could take you, I should say, could take you a long time to get to a place of stability. If you had your finances mixed in and you were living together and all that, yeah, then it probably will take a while for you to get your finances back in order and everything like that. So, okay, I'm just going to pull one more card. And then we'll get on out of here. But just so you know, you're not alone. And the important thing is to understand the difference between pure love and attachment. Because if you're simply attached to this person, I feel like it's a little bit easier to undo that. I was just attached to them. I'm still processing. It at least will allow you to understand why you're having difficulties. The Justice card, some of you guys, I understand if things were not fair when you broke up, that can make it difficult for you, like you were betrayed or you were deceived. And that is what I was saying before. Hello from Kentucky. Hi. That is what I was saying before, when you have to process what happened because things were not fair. And of course, sometimes this is a marriage we're talking about. I've never been married. I've seen people go through divorces. Those are time consuming. That's a given. It's a given if you're going through a divorce that it's going to take you a while to move on. So, and that is totally a given. But also potentially if it was just really unfair, if there was betrayal, there was deceit, you're processing the trauma. It's not even necessarily that you're still in love with them anymore. It could be, but more than likely you're processing the trauma and you're learning how, some of you are like, sometimes like when you're separated from the person and the situation, you understand that there was trauma because while you were in it, you might not have even realized that you're undergoing trauma while you were in it until afterwards. So that's when you piece it all together and then you learn how to heal and trust again. So it's a huge process, right? Okay, you guys, I think I talked enough about this topic. You guys have anything to say out there? Any stories? Yeah, not because I feel like there's a lot of different stories and a lot of different ways to tell the breakup story about how it takes a long time sometimes And especially if you're not able to decipher exactly what is the reason that you can't stop thinking, what is the reason you haven't moved on, especially if it's something that's not good for you. And I'm almost going to always default to attachment style or childhood trauma, and that as a pattern from childhood that you're repeating. I will almost always default to that because it falls into one of those two categories there. Okay, guys, I'm probably going to end this live now, but I'll be back tomorrow. And I'll probably be doing the free questions live this weekend. If you guys want a free tarot question, check that out. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this reading elevated your consciousness in some type of way, shape, or form. I'll see y'all later.